Jeff, what led you to decide to waive Yevgeny Svechnikov already?
I think first of all, you got to understand what waivers, and I think you know this, Aline. Waivers just simply means that if they're not claimed, you have flexibility to send people to Grand Rapids, to send people to a taxi squad, those types of things. So, I think the whole group of guys gives you flexibility to be able to do that. So that's that.
I guess on the flip side, though, I mean, you do also risk losing a former first-round pick for nothing who you haven't really gotten to see a whole lot of him yet at the NHL because of injuries and just a variety of reasons.
Yeah, and unfortunately, Evgeny's had a number of injuries, so he hasn't been able to show, a full kind of season of where he's at. But we also have to make roster decisions, and you're restricted to your roster. So, again, nothing's permanent. You have that risk potentially of losing guys. But let's see where we're at here at noon tomorrow.
How did he take the news?
He talked with Steve.
Okay, thanks, Jeff.
Yep.
Next up, Ted Colflin with the Detroit News.
Hey, Jeff. So where are you guys right now in the process? Are you pretty close to deciding who you have on the roster? Is there still some decisions to make?
Well, there's still some, I guess we have to gain understanding who's available to play. So we got tomorrow off, so we'll look at it again Wednesday. But certainly, we're closing in on a roster and who we think are going to start with our team. I mean, I think, one thing that I would stress that I think, this is kind of a decision day, but it's made out like that's a permanent thing. It's not. It's totally flexible. And guys that are on your roster on opening day doesn't mean they're going to stay on your roster the whole time. And, and vice versa. Guys that aren't certainly have the opportunity to be called up at some point. So we're closing in on it. Obviously, last night's scrimmage was good. We've had 3 scrimmages, 2 of which I thought were close to real hockey. Not quite to the level we're going to face certainly on Thursday, but closer. We've had some practices, and then we got to sort out some health issues and just see who's available to play.
Let's face it, this was probably the last practice of the training camp or whatnot. How did it go? I mean, obviously such a unique thing, such a short time, no exhibition games. I mean, what were some of the pros and cons of all this?
Well, the pros are you get more practice time, and relative to the amount of time that you have, generally in a normal training camp, you get those 4 days or whatever at the beginning, and then you start into the exhibition season, and your practices get disjointed. And you can't certainly practice with your group maybe as much. Your group meaning the general group that's gonna end up being your hockey team, and so that's the pro. The cons are you don't get the exhibition games, and the exhibition games serve 2 big purposes. 1, get guys ready, and 2, evaluation. And not just evaluation who makes the team, but who's going to kill penalties, who's going to be on the power play, how, all those types of things. So that's the pros and the cons. At the end of this, I think we tried to be as effective as we could be given the parameters we were given, and we're all each team's under real similar parameters, and I hope that we were really effective in implementing, what is important to us, and implementing our systems, and implementing the way we want to play. And hopefully we can go out on Thursday and play without thinking. And by that, I mean not thinking what they're supposed to do, but reacting properly because we've trained them right.
Gotcha. Thanks, Jeff.
Yep.
Next question from Max Boltman with The Athletic.
Hey, Jeff. Granted, what you said about the flexibility of the roster, but with how it looks right now, what did Michael Rasmussen do to get into kind of the 12 forwards that you had skating out there? How much of that was about the power play, and how much of it was about what he did in the last couple scrimmages?
Well, I don't want to make more of it again. We don't know where our 12 is going to be on Thursday night. So, I think we'll see where the availability is of everybody. So I don't want to make more of it than what it is. Today, he was one of the 12 guys skating. Why was he chosen as that guy over some other guys? One is certainly specific to the power play. Bobby Ryan didn't skate, and that's a spot that Bobby's occupied, that net front on that unit. And so Ras has had the opportunity to play in that spot the last 2 games. And he's done a pretty good job. He's a big man. That is definitely his strength is net front, and specifically net front on the power play. And I think he's done a pretty good job. So, that's probably the biggest reason why he was put into that spot and as one of the 12. And, and I think also, like, I just want to take a good long look at, obviously a young talented player with a big body and just see, as the pace got higher and higher and as the practice pace got higher, how he reacted. So, that was where it was today. Again, we'll go back, we'll talk as a group. We'll find out who's available. We'll make decisions for Thursday.
And then just so I have it, Adam Ernie unfit to play today?
Correct.
Thanks.
Unfit to practice. I think that's what you say in practice days.
Fair enough.
Next question from Art Regner with DetroitRedWings.com.
Hi, Jeff. I'm kind of curious. I know that it's always difficult decisions are always made when you're paring down to get to your final roster. But I'm curious, since you've been the Red Wings coach, are these the toughest decisions that you had to make is today with this current group, that essentially the team is getting better and stronger, and this was difficult to try to pare this roster down?
I wouldn't necessarily. I think every year's got their own unique decisions. I wouldn't say one more than the other. I know where you're going with it, but I wouldn't necessarily say, again, I think every year is a little bit unique, and certainly, each year when you're making decisions between different people, those are always hard decisions because you want to make the right decision. And so regardless of what you think of the players, you being Art Regner, I think every year up till now, there's been difficult decisions. But I'd also emphasize again that, what we've seen. So putting guys on waivers doesn't really mean a whole lot other than they're on waivers. And having guys in practice doesn't mean a whole lot other than that they're in practice. And again, tomorrow's a day off, and Wednesday we'll practice and we'll play Thursday. And I'll let you know what that group is.
Steve has said this, and you just alluded to it too, that the team that you see on January 14th is not necessarily the team that you'll see at the end of the month or, in March or whatever. Is that a tough sell to a player when obviously he's disappointed with the process that he has just gone through?
One of the most important factors to individual success is mental toughness. And I say that all the time to any group I ever talk to. If you want to talk about individual success, to me, it's two factors: inner drive, meaning that extraordinary work ethic, and mental toughness, meaning the perseverance that it takes. So when you get knocked down, you get back up, and not only do you get back up, but you get back up with your confidence intact. And if a player is sent down or does not make our team, and they can't get by that, they won't make it. And that's just the hard, cold reality of trying to get to the very top of the pyramid of anything in life, and especially in the NHL and in pro sports. So part of being able to make it is handling those situations. I had guys play for me when I was in Grand Rapids that became really good players that at one point got knocked down, and they got up with their confidence intact, and they've played in this league for a long time. And I also have seen guys through my years that when they've faced this type of adversity, they let it affect their confidence. They don't get back up. They're not as strong mentally, and they don't make it. And they're nice people. They're great people. But we're talking about trying to get to the very top of the pyramid. So it is difficult. It's always difficult when those types of things happen, but you got to be able to persevere through it.
Thank you, Jeff. Appreciate it very much. Thanks.
Next up is Ansar Khan from MLive.
Yeah, Jeff, after seeing Brome here in camp for about a week and 3 scrimmages, is he about what you expected coming into camp, or is there anything about him that you surprises you or that you didn't know? And also, is he, a lot of talk about his offensive ability, but is he also a guy that you could kind of trust is responsible defensively?
I mean, I think I'd say a couple of things. One, I didn't totally know what to expect because without seeing him in even the American League, it's really hard to get a comparable. Some guys come over from Europe in the different leagues that they play in and do really well, and some guys don't. And it's really hard to get a read of which guys are transferable in their skill set and which guys aren't. I watched him on tape, and I just really didn't know what to expect. So I had an open mind. What I would say is he's been stronger on his skates and more tenacious than I realized when I watched him on tape. And I don't know if that's just the reality of watching guys on film, if that's the difference in the leagues, if that's the difference in the ice sheet. But those two things have stood out to me. He's definitely been stronger in his skates, and he's definitely been extremely tenacious. And I think that's helped him be real effective, and generally meant that when the coaches have walked off the bench or walked off the ice, they've said, boy, Bromey played pretty well. Now, the other part of it is I do think he's been shown to be pretty trustworthy. He's not a young kid. He understands hockey. He understands when to take his opportunities and when not to force it. And he knows how to play good defensive hockey. And ultimately, you have to be a complete player in order to earn the trust to get on the ice. And especially unless, really anybody, if you want to win. And so he's got that. I think he's done a good job of that. And I think that's allowed him to have some success so far.
Thanks.
Next question from Jennifer Hammond with Fox 2.
Hi, Coach. Nice to see you. Hopefully we get to see you again in person soon here. Just kind of a big picture evaluation, if you can. What do you have in this team? What do you like about this team? What do you want this team to show you Thursday night?
Well, let's start with what I like about this team. I've liked our hunger. I think we were a group that had an extraordinarily long layoff. I think sometimes that you gain perspective in those situations, and I certainly think we're a hungry group, a group that wants to keep getting better, a group that doesn't like what's happened here and wants to get this organization to better days, and that's not just the young guys, that's the whole group. And so I think that's been a real positive. I would say in terms of what to expect, it's really hard to say until we get into live action. We certainly want to be as complete a team as we can be. We certainly want to be as smart a team as we can be. And then we'll get a good test on Thursday and be able to tell us, when you just play against each other, you kind of know where you're at based against each other, but you don't know where you're at based against the rest of the league. So Thursday will be a good starting point. It's just one day. And then, my approach to the season is just simply going to be continuing to get better every day. And let's make sure that we evaluate after each practice. We learn from it, and then we move on to the next day, and it's going to be the same thing with our games. And then we'll see how we do. We'll see how we'll get a chance to prove ourselves come Thursday, and then we'll have to reevaluate Friday and get back at it Saturday.
Thank you very much.
Yep.
We'll wrap up today with Bob Winowski from the Detroit News.
Hey, Jeff, just sort of a follow-up to Jennifer's question. Based on personnel moves and everything else, is there one area you would expect this team to be much improved in? And I'm thinking of the defensively in the blue line, but I don't know. I don't want to put an answer in your mouth. But is there one area you really expect to take a jump up?
Well, I would say that we need to, without a shadow of a doubt, be better when in our team defense. And I hope that not only the players we added on the blue line, but the type of players that we added up front, a lot of guys that are fairly complete players, that are respectful of what it takes to win, kind of have an idea what it takes to win, and ultimately would give us a chance to be a more sound team defensively, which then means you probably have the puck more and you're a better team offensively. So, I know for sure it's really hard to outscore mistakes in any league, and it's definitely hard in this league, especially if I know really no team can do it. And so you got to make sure that you're really, really sound defensively. And I think with the additions, we have the opportunity to be. I hope I think we put a good plan in place to be, and now we got to go out and prove it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. That's it for us today.
Thank you.
We'll see you